Hi everyone, welcome to Success Musings. In today's video, we are going to see more about pivot table. So we will see what is pivot table here. We will also see how to create a pivot table, and also we will see a few examples. So let's jump onto the video. So let's see what is pivot table. Pivot table is nothing but a summary of a data. Say for example, here I have data of about 5 columns and 110 rows. So I want a summary of this data. So how will you give it by using formulas? It will be very difficult, right? So we use pivot table to give a summary of this data. So what summary we can give with this data? If you ask me, I can give total sales value made by each salesperson, and total units sold by them, and total units sold by them in each and every country. So which country they made maximum number of sales, we can easily find out by summarizing their data. We can also find out which month the maximum sales value made by each and every salesperson. So now let's see how to create a pivot table. So to create a pivot table, we need to ensure there are no blank columns or rows in the data. Say for example, here if I have a blank column, so if I want to create a pivot table for this data, it will throw you an error. Similar way, if there is a blank row in your data, there are possibilities of getting an error. So just to avoid this, kindly check if there are any blank columns or rows in the data where you want to create a pivot. If there is a blank row or column, I request you to please delete it. And then go ahead to create a pivot table. So to create a pivot table, what we need to do is that click on to Insert tab. There you will find an option for pivot table. Once you click on to pivot table, you will get the dialog box with the name Create Pivot Table. Here you will have options such as choose the data that you want to analyze. So the data is already selected here, or we can also use an external data to create a pivot table. Second thing is choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. I can place the pivot table in the existing worksheet, or I can create the pivot table in the new worksheet. So now let's see how to create a pivot table in the existing worksheet. So I have selected existing worksheet in where you want to paste the pivot table, right? So now I am selecting G1 as my address. The reason is that here we can play around the data, we have lot of space. Then I am clicking on to OK. Now the pivot table is created. Now we can easily drag and drop the fields to analyze the data. So now we have created a pivot table in existing worksheet. Now let's see how to create a pivot table in new worksheet. Again I'll go to Insert tab, select pivot table option. So I'm creating a pivot table in new worksheet now, and the data is already selected. I'm clicking OK. So now pivot table is created in the new worksheet. So to create a pivot table, it will not take a lot of time, it will just take few seconds. So within few seconds we can easily create a pivot table and analyze the data. Now let's see an example in each case. First we will see an example in the existing worksheet. Here I am dragging the field salesperson in rows and sales value in values. Here there is no currency. Let's assume for now these are in US dollars. So Arvind made total sales value of 2,333, Ratika made 9,489, Satya made 1,237, Usha made 11,713. So now it is very easy to analyze the data by using pivot table. You can also rename the row labels to salesperson name. You can also rename the values as well. You can also rename sum of sales value to total value. just for your understanding, and we will change this to currency. Just click on to currency. Now you got in the currency format. So now let's see an example in the new worksheet. So this is the pivot table of the same data. Again, I'll drag and drop salesperson to rows and sales value in values. So here we have created the same pivot table in new worksheet. So now let's see what is the use of these columns, right? Say for example, I'll drag and drop the country here in columns. So now what happens is that this total value is the split of all these. So the sales made in all these countries equals to this total value. So now with this data we can very easily find out which country the salesperson made maximum sales value. So now let's see what is the use of filters. So I'll just drag and drop the salesperson to filters and country to rows. These are the countries we are doing the business. So now if I want to analyze the data of Arvind alone, I can use the filter and I can select Arvind. So this is the sales value made by Arvind and this is the country split. Give me a like for this video, share it to your friends and subscribe for more similar videos. Thank you.